want to say good evening to everybody.
Good evening, Brother Daniel.
Welcome everybody here to the house of Jacob, where we are keeping one of the Lord's high days, the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. That's what we are gathered here for this evening. I want to say welcome to everybody sitting here, as well as those that are joining us by our live stream and by our conference call as well. I want to say welcome to them, and it's good to have you fellowshipping with us this evening at this memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. Now, this is one of God's high days that he commanded his servants to keep, and the Lord had them all listed in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. And even though they are listed in the Old Testament, they was good throughout all generations. It was not just something that was done in the Old Testament. They were to be done forever throughout all generations in all of your dwellings. Jesus did not nail them to the cross. Jesus nailed the animal sacrifice law to the cross. That's what he nailed to the cross. These high days and his other commandments, they are still good and they are still to be kept. And if you are going to be a servant of God, then you are supposed to observe these things, because the Lord gave them to us by commandment, not by request, but by commandment. So if you're really going to serve God, you have to keep these days. And if you're not keeping these days, then you are not really being a servant of God. Now, all of these days had a meaning. When God gave man these days, they had a meaning and a purpose. And the meaning of this one, or the purpose of this one, was to keep us mindful that the Lord is going to return to this earth one day and establish his kingdom on this earth. But before the Lord return, there are certain things that must happen. I know you probably heard it said, I've heard it said more times than I care to remember, that the Lord might return any day now. Well, no, the Lord is not going to return any day now. The Lord says certain things must happen before he returns. And some of those events that must happen, the Lord is going to announce them with the blowing of trumpets. That's what this feast is about. It is a memorial to keep us mindful of the events leading up to his coming, when he will return and dwell on this earth. Now, we want to begin this lesson in Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus 23, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. Because when we deal with these feast days, I always like to start here, just so everybody will understand that these are the feast of the Lord, not the feast of the Jews. They are the feast of the Lord. Because when you tell most people that you keep these days, then they will say, well, you keeping those Jewish days. No, we are not keeping any Jewish days here. We are keeping the feast of the Lord. That's what this is, and we are going to read that clearly from the Bible. I like to make certain that if you don't get anything else out of this, that you will at least understand that this is one of the Lord's feast days. Because surely, if you tell somebody that you kept this, they will tell you that you are keeping those Jewish days. Or they will say that, well, you know, Jesus nailed it all to the cross, so we don't have to do that anymore. Well, Jesus didn't nail it to the cross, and it's not Jewish. Let's start reading at Leviticus 23, and we'll begin at verse 1, 23 and 1. Go ahead and read, brother.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying.
Now notice here, it is the Lord, and he is speaking unto Moses, and he is telling Moses what to say unto the people. So this is not the law of Moses that we're reading here, because that's another thing they like to always say, well, you dealing with the law of Moses. No, this is not the law of Moses. It is the law of the Lord. As you just read from your Bible, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, and this is what he said unto Moses. Go ahead and read.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord.
Now he says, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord. He said, speak unto the children of Israel, but what he said unto the children of Israel, it applies to everybody. And notice what he said, God said, not Moses, God said concerning the feast of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations.
Uh-huh.
Even these are my feasts.
And the Lord said that you shall proclaim them to be holy convocation, even these are his feasts. When he said holy convocation, that means you ought to have a gathering on these days. And you ought to do it in their season. We are going to deal with the one that's in season. Go ahead, continue reading though.
6 days shall work be done.
Uh-huh.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
Go ahead.
And holy convocation.
Uh-huh.
Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Now that did not change either. Go ahead, continue reading.
These are the feasts of the Lord.
Now again he says that these are the feasts of the Lord. So he has said it 3 times. That these are the feasts of the Lord. Go ahead, continue reading.
Even holy convocations,
Uh-huh.
which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
Now the Lord said you ought to proclaim them in their season. In other words, there to be a convocation, and it's to be done at a certain time of the year. And we are going to deal this evening with the one that is in season. That's what season means, at a set time. So now we are going to deal with the one that is in season this evening. Skip down now to verse 23. Go ahead and read it, bro.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying.
Now again, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, and this is what he said unto Moses. Go ahead and read.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying,
Uh-huh.
in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath.
Now he said, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath. You said, well, Brother Daniel, this is the 9th month, and it's the, 5th day. Now, according to God's calendar, it is the 7th month, and it is the 1st day of the month, according to God's calendar. And he said, you shall have a Sabbath. So this is a Sabbath. Well, you just read in verse 3 about the weekly Sabbath, which is the 7th day. Sure. Now you got another Sabbath here. Because the Lord said it is a Sabbath, and that is what it is. In the Bible, it is referred to as a high Sabbath. Because the Lord has high Sabbaths, and then he has the weekly Sabbath. Weekly Sabbath is 7 days of the week. The high Sabbath, they fall on a set date, with the exception of Pentecost. That you have to calculate every year, but that's a lesson for its season. But now he said, ye shall have a Sabbath. Go ahead and read on.
End of 24.
Uh-huh.
A memorial of blowing of trumpets.
Go ahead.
And holy convocations.
So now he said, you shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, even a holy convocation. That's why we gathered here. We are gathered here this evening to keep this commandment, because the Lord said it is a Sabbath. And he says that you shall have a holy convocation on this day. So we're gathered here to keep this Sabbath. Read that next verse. Go ahead.
Ye shall do no servile work therein.
Now he said don't do any servile work therein. That meaning, like if you have a job, and if you could get it off, then you should get it off. But you are not to do any servile work therein. Go ahead and read on.
But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Now that you don't have to do anymore. When Jesus came and died, he nailed that to the cross. So you don't have to do the offering anymore, the sacrifices and all of that was done on these days. But he did not nail the day to the cross. He just nailed the sacrifices to the cross that you did on these days. So now, we are here this evening because the Lord commanded that we should have a convocation. It is a Sabbath day, and it is called the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets. Now, let's go to Matthew chapter 24, and we are going to pick it up at verse 3. Matthew chapter 24, and we'll begin reading at verse 3. As I said earlier, this particular one, it is about the events leading up to the coming of the Lord, and some of these events will be announced with the blowing of the trumpets. Not a trumpet, but 7 trumpets. Let's go to Matthew 24, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3, and I'm going to just read a little bit of this regarding the coming of the Lord here. Start reading at verse 3. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
You know, they had told him, they were asking him about the temple that was there, and he told them there wouldn't be one stone left upon another that should not be thrown down. Now, that came to pass in 70 A.D. when the Romans came down, destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, and took Israel into bondage. But then they turned around and asked him as well, what would be the sign of his coming and of the end of the world? And he started to name them signs. We want to skip down to verse 29. Okay, go ahead and read.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
Now, there would be a tribulation. It's called here in this 24th chapter, the Great Tribulation. We're going to read it in a little bit. We're going to back up and read it in a little bit. But first, continue reading. Now, he said immediately after the tribulation of those days. Go ahead and read.
Shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
Now, he said the sun would be darkened, and the moon would not give her light. Go ahead and read on.
And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Go ahead.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Go ahead.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
Wait a minute, and notice what it says here. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet. Lord ain't going to just pop up. There's some stuff that's got to happen before he show up. There got to be the blowing of some trumpets that's going to announce certain events, as we are going to read a little bit later in this lesson. Now, he said, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet. Go ahead and read on.
And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds.
Go ahead.
From one end of heaven to the other.
Go ahead, continue reading.
Now learn a parable of the fig tree.
Read it.
When its branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
Now the Lord is giving you a parable here. And this parable is saying to you that when you see the fig trees, or as it's stated other places in the scripture, or any other tree starting to bloom, that is a sign that summer is near. Remember, they came and they asked him what would be the sign of his coming and of the end. They didn't say what year you're going to come.
That's right, brother.
Or what day. They said, what will be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world. Then he started to name them signs. And so now he's using a parable here, and he's saying in this parable, when you see the fig tree put forth his leaves, that is a sign that summer is near. Go ahead and read.
Verse 33.
Read it.
So likewise ye, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors.
So likewise, all of these things that we didn't bother reading them all. But he said, when you see all of these things, then know that his coming is near, even at the door. So he can't show up until you see all of these things, all of these signs that he gave here in this 24th chapter of Matthew. He cannot come until you see all of these things happen. Let's back up. Verse 15. Go ahead and read.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
Now, this is one of the signs here. Because they asked him, what would be the sign? And he started to name. You know, he told about the wars, rumors of wars, earthquake, famines, pestilence, all of that. Then he turns around and said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. We're going to show you what this is because this is one of the signs. Then it turns around and says, whoso readeth, let him understand. Don't just read this, in other words, but understand what it is that you read. You need to know what it is, because if you don't know what it is, then you might be standing right in the face and not have a clue what you're looking at. This is a sign of his coming, but I want you to notice the reason you need to understand it, because there's something that you need to do when you see this sign. Go ahead and read.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
And even if you're not in Judea, you ought to flee into those same mountains. Those mountains is referred to another place as a place of safety from the great tribulation. When you see all of these things happen, as he says. So this got to happen. All this stuff is going to happen, people. It's not just some words written in a book. This stuff is going to happen. If you're still alive, and you ain't got to be alive a whole long time from now. But if you're still alive, you are going to witness these things. Because the Lord said that all these things must happen before he comes. Go ahead and read.
Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes.
Go ahead.
And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
You know, we just read that he was coming after the tribulation, right?
Sir.
So that means you got to have this tribulation that's going to come. I know it ain't pleasing to the ears. No, people don't like to hear this kind of stuff. You know, they like hearing where the Lord going to just pop up one day, snatch them off the earth, and take them off to heaven somewhere. They don't want to hear nothing about no great time of trouble like there has never been before or shall never be again. But you cannot get around it. You understand what I'm saying? The Lord told you, when you see all of these things happen, then know that his coming is near, even at the door. No, look, you ain't going nowhere until this happens. You understand what I'm telling you? And as far as you getting to heaven, you ain't going there anyway. So if that's what you got in your mind, forget about it.
Sir.
The Lord said all over this Bible that he is going to return to this earth. Where did you get going from heaven from? You didn't get it out of here. I know where you got it from. It sounded good to your ears, and you liked it. And you went with it because you liked it. Not because that's what thus said the Lord, but because you liked it. But you're going to get it like it is. Because that's how it's going to be. Ain't nothing going to change. You think the Lord going to change anything to stroke your ears? God don't operate like that. You want to get some stroking? Wait till Sunday and get stroked all day.
Sir.
Just pick you one, go there and get stroked. And they will stroke you all the way to the fire. You're going to get it straight in here. You always going to get it straight in here, because we're going to read it to you right out of the Bible, Peter. That's what we do in here.
Sir.
So that way you know you got it right. You got to get it right. If you don't ever get anything right in your life, you got to get this right. This you got to get right. Your very salvation depends on you getting it right. So now, he said, when you see this abomination of desolation stand in the holy place, then that will begin this great tribulation, a time of trouble like there has never been before or shall ever be again. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. 2 Thessalonians 2, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. Because Paul is going to tell these Thessalonians about an event that must take place before the Lord can come. You know, Jesus named them all. You know, he told you about the wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes. Then he told you about the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet. And that's what Paul is about to tell you about, this abomination of desolation. However, he calls it the man of sin, the son of perdition. Start reading in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and we will pick it up at verse 1. 2 Thessalonians 2, and began reading at verse 1, 2 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read it, brother.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him.
Now, what we're reading about here, the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and before the Lord can come, there got to be some trumpets that's going to blow. And there got to be an abomination of desolation that's going to stand in the holy place, as it is spoken of by Daniel the prophet. And that's what Paul is about to tell these Thessalonians here. He's not calling it the abomination of desolation. He's calling it the man of sin, the son of perdition, that's going to sit in the temple of God and declare himself to be God. Go ahead, continue reading.
That you be not soon shaken in mind.
He said, now I don't want you to be troubled by anything as from us, as that day of Christ is at hand. You know, like people come and tell you, well, you know, get ready, brother, because the Lord might come any day. You ain't going to hear that here. You're going to hear what Paul is saying to these Thessalonians here. I don't want you to be shaken in mind, nor troubled by spirit, by word, or by letter, as from us, as that day of Christ is at hand. Because he's going to tell them something here that must happen before that day can come. Go ahead and read.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come.
And notice what he says here. Don't let anybody deceive you by any means. No, somebody should have paid attention to this.
Yes,
because
sir.
if they had, then they wouldn't be standing around waiting on some rapture that ain't coming. Because that's what they're doing. You better get ready for the rapture. What rapture, man? What rapture? Show it to me. In the Bible. It ain't happening. Because that's what they want to hear. That's why they eat it up. But ain't nobody never showed it to them in the Bible. Never. Not one time. You know why? Because it's not in there. So now, he is saying to the people, let no man deceive you by any means. Go ahead and read.
Except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
Now he said, don't let anybody deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. He's being absolute about this thing. That day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. In other words, the man of sin, the son of destruction. That's what perdition is. Destruction. Go ahead and read on.
Who opposed and exalted himself above all that is called God.
And this is what he's going to do. He's going to oppose and he's going to exalt himself above all that is called God. Go ahead and read on.
Or that is worship.
Or that is worship. Go ahead and read.
So that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Now this temple where he's going to sit, that's a temple that will be in Jerusalem. This man is going to leave Rome. He is a great religious figure that now is in Rome. But he's going to leave there, and he's going to move into a temple in Jerusalem. And that's why he said here, he's going to oppose and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worship, so that he as God, going to sit in the temple of God, declaring himself that he is God. Skip down to verse 8, just so we'll be clear that he'll be there at the coming of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth.
Go ahead.
And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Now this got to happen before the Lord can come, people. It must happen. That's why Paul said it as he said it. That day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, that will oppose and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worship, sitting in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 11. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 11, And we'll begin reading at verse 1, just so we'll know where this temple will be that he is going to sit in. Revelations 11, and pick it up at verse 1. 11 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein.
Now, you remember we read that the man going to sit in the temple of God and declare himself to be God. So now it said here, there was given me a reed like unto a rod. The angel said, Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and them that worship therein. Read.
But the court which is without the temple leave out.
Go ahead.
And measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles.
Go ahead.
And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months.
And where's the holy city? That is Jerusalem. That is where the temple is, and that is where the man is going to reside, in a temple that is there in Jerusalem. And the book says 42 months, because that is the length of this great tribulation that will begin when he moved in the temple. When he moved in that temple, that will begin this great tribulation, and it will last for 42 months. Now, let's go to Revelations chapter 5, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. We're going to work our way around to the blowing of the trumpets that must be blown before the Lord can return. Revelations 5, and we will pick it up at verse 1. 5 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals.
Now the one that was sitting on the throne, that is the Father. And he had a book in his hand, and it was sealed with 7 seals. Go ahead and read.
And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon.
Go ahead.
And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Now, John said, I wept much, because there was nobody found to open this book and loose the seal. And he said, Don't weep. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open this book. Now, this Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, not only the root of David, but the offspring of David as well. That's another lesson for another time, though. Because other places in Revelation, he's called the root of David, and he's called the offspring of David as well. But now he said, he has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. This is Jesus that we're reading about here. He is the one that can open the book and that can loose the seals on the book. Let's go now, Revelation chapter 6, and we will pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 6. And we'll begin reading at verse 1. 6 and 1. It's on. How about that? Okay. It ain't kicking. Something's going on there. But anyway, Revelation chapter 6. And we will pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 6. And begin reading at verse 1. 6 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals.
Now, only Jesus could open the book, and now he's beginning to open the book, because the book was sealed with 7 seals. And as each seal was opened, something happened. Go ahead and read. Now, he said, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals there. Go ahead and read on.
And I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, Come and see.
Go ahead and read.
And I saw, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him. And he went forth conquering and to conquer.
Now, he said, I saw as the first seal was open. And there was one on a white horse. Now, this one here on the white horse, this is the imposter. Remember, you got to have an imposter first. Before the Lord can come, one must sit in the temple of God and declare himself to be God. Didn't we read that?
Yes, sir.
Before the Lord can come. So now here you have him here, because the Bible says when Jesus returned, he's going to return on a white horse. Now, if one going to sit in the temple of God and declare himself to be God, well, he got to resemble the one that he's claiming to be anyway, doesn't he?
Sir.
So now, as it is written here, one sat on the white horse and he went forth conquering and to conquer. When you conquer something, that means that's going to involve war. Yes, sir. You understand? You don't conquer nothing by walking up asking for it.
That's right, brother. Yes, sir.
When you conquer something, that involves war. So now, he went forth conquering and to conquer, meaning to take something by force. Go ahead, continue read.
And when he had opened the second seal.
Now, when he had opened the second seal, this is what he heard. Go ahead and read.
I heard the second beast say, Come and see.
Go ahead and read.
And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth.
Now he said, well, if he going to take peace from the earth, don't that involve war?
It's war, brother. Yes, sir.
So now, you have war. He went forth conquering. That involves war. And then power was given unto him to take peace from the earth. Go ahead and read.
And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword.
Now, we're going to come back here and deal with the rest of these seals. But let's go look at him here in Daniel chapter 11. And we're going to pick him up at verse 36. Because Paul talked about it. He said the man was going to sit in the temple of God, declaring himself to be God. Let's go to Daniel chapter 11. And we will pick it up at verse 36. Daniel 11. And we'll begin reading at verse 36. 11 and 36. Okay. Here we have him again. 11 and 36. Okay, go ahead and read it, bro.
And the king shall do according to his will.
Now this king, this is the one that we've been reading about. This is the one that's on the white horse, that went forth conquering and to conquer. This is the one that it was given to take peace from the earth. This is the abomination of desolation, the one that Paul said would sit in the temple of God and declare himself to be God. This is the one that we're reading about here. He is the king. He has his own little dominion. It is a government within a government. It sits within the city of Rome. Go ahead and read.
And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god.
Well, ain't that what Paul said? A man was going to exalt himself and magnify himself above all that is called God. That's where he got it from. He got it right out of the 11th chapter. Paul told you anyway. He said, I believe in everything that is written in the law and in the prophets. This thing about Paul coming with a new thing, that don't fly people in the face. That's not what he said. He didn't say I came with a new thing. He said, I worship the God of my fathers, believe in all things that is written in the law and in the prophets. So now, he said that the man was going to sit in the temple and declare himself and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worship, didn't he? Well, where did he get it from out of the 11th chapter of Daniel? Well, Jesus told you the abomination of desolation was spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Everybody done took you back to the Old Testament, but you ain't paying no attention. You busy proclaiming that you are some kind of New Testament Christian.
Yes, sir.
That don't exist. There's no such thing. You understand what I'm telling you? The ones that were called Christians in the Bible, they believed in the law, the Old Testament, and the testimony, the New Testament, because it is written. If they do not speak according to this, it is because there is no light in them. If you ain't got them both, you ain't got it right.
Sir.
How you gonna get it right dealing with a portion of the book? I started to say half.
Yes, sir.
But I don't want to lie on them people. Because all they got about 5 verses of Paul. And And they call that the New Testament. That's what they got. Talk to some of them sometime. The next one tell you you're a New Testament Christian, just tell them, son, run me down some of your doctrine and see what they going to run you. They going to take you in Paul, Galatians chapter 6, read a verse. Take you in Romans somewhere and read 2 or 3 verses. Then they'll take you in Ephesians and read a verse or 2. That's it. So they do not have the New Testament. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have them both, you don't have it right. You can't get it right. That's why you got it. If all you needed was a verse out of Paul, that would be all that you would have. Lord would put one big verse in this big book here, call on the name of Christ and you shall be saved. Because that's it. And they done found one that they can use to circumvent the law. Mm-hmm. They got to have that one.
Yes, sir.
That's it. But now, if you're going to get it right, you're going to have to get it out of the old and get it out of the new as well. Now, we are dealing with here with this abomination of desolation, the one that Paul called the man of sin, the son of perdition, sitting in the temple of God, declaring himself to be God. Okay, go ahead and read. What verse are we?
Middle of verse 36.
Read it.
And shall speak marvelous things against the God of God.
So now, he said the king shall do according to his will and shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God and speak marvelous things against the God of God. And he does that that's a part of their doctrine. Speaking things against the God of God. The God of God said that he died on Good Friday and rose Easter. That's what he said, didn't he? But what did the king say? This king I'm talking about. What did he say? No, you died on Good Friday. Mm-hmm. And you rose Easter Sunday morning.
Yes, sir.
The God of God said, I'm going to be in there 3 days and 3 nights. He said, the king said, no, you're going to be in there a day and a half, man. So every time he opens his mouth, he is speaking things against the God. Because when you say something contrary to the God of gods, then you are blaspheming the God of God. You're calling him a lie.
Sure.
You know, when Peter's made a error by saying something that he shouldn't say. You know, Jesus was telling them about all the stuff that was going to happen to him. And Peter, feeling bad, oh, Lord, it ain't going to happen to you. And when the Lord looked at him and said, get thee behind me, Satan.
Get behind
you saith the thing that be of men and not the thing that be of God. And Peter didn't say it with any evil intent. He was just saying it because he loved the master and was trying to say to the master, oh, Lord, ain't nothing like that's going to happen to you. Lord told him, get thee behind me, Satan. So now, this man, he is truly speaking things against the God of God, because he done sat in the temple of God and claimed that he is God, that exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped. If that's not an abomination, I don't know what is. Go ahead and read some more.
And shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished.
Go ahead and read.
For that is determined shall be done.
Read.
Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women,
Go ahead.
nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all.
Now he going to make war, because as we read, he went forth conquering and to conquer, didn't he? That involves war. And he took peace from the earth, didn't he? Skip down now to verse 40. Go ahead and read it.
And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him, like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over.
Go ahead and read.
He shall enter also into the glorious land.
Now, where's the glorious land? The glorious land, that is Jerusalem.
Sir, yes, sir.
And he's going to enter also into the glorious land. Go ahead and read on.
And many countries shall be overthrown.
Wait a minute. If you're going to talk about overthrowing some country, ain't that conquering?
Yes, sir.
Overthrowing, don't that involve war? You understand what I'm saying? So now, and he said, and he shall enter into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. Go ahead and read on.
But these shall escape out of his hand.
Go ahead.
Even Edom and Moab
Go ahead.
and the chief of the children of Ammon.
So all these countries still around. This end time stuff you're reading about it.
Sure.
You don't hear nothing about Edom. You know why you don't hear nothing about Edom? Because he's claimed he have taken your identity, Israel. He is Edom, but he's taken Israel's identity. But then you got Moab. They still around. The chief of the children of Ammon, they still around. They sitting right over there in the vicinity of their land. But if you read history, you will find out when the Arabs invaded the Middle East, they didn't destroy these people. They just took them over. So they are still there. Regardless of whatever name they are going under today, they are still there. Otherwise, the Lord would not say that these would escape out of his hands. Go ahead, continue to read.
Verse 42.
Read it.
He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape.
You know, that's why I keep an eye on Egypt. Because, and as you see, there's constant turmoil going on in Egypt. And I'm just watching just to kind of see what all this is leading to. But we know at some point, this man, he is going to take over Egypt as well. Because your Bible just told you that. That much you know. Whatever all that turmoil that's constantly going on in Egypt, at some point it's going to lead to Egypt being taken over by this man. Because it said the land of Egypt shall not escape. Go ahead, continue to read.
But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt.
Go ahead.
And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps.
And then the Libyans and the Ethiopians will be at his step. But now the Libyans and the Ethiopians, they're in the camp of the bad. In case you don't know who the bad is, it is Russia. The baddest thing in town, especially when it got China backing it up.
Yes, sir.
With about 200 million soldiers. Whoop them. If it wasn't but one, you wouldn't whoop them because the Lord called it his army. And ain't nobody going to whoop the Lord's army but him. Unless he raise up somebody. That's how the Lord do. Lord raise up one nation to do his bidding for him. And then after he done with them, he'll raise up another nation to go and knock them out. But they are called the Lord's army. So now, the Libyans and the Ethiopians are going to be his step. But tidings out of the east and out of the north. You got Jerusalem sitting right there in the middle. You go east and you go north of Jerusalem. Guess who you going to run into? Russia. But now, he said the Libyans and the Ethiopians will be at his steps. Go ahead, continue read.
But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many.
Wait a minute. You know, Russia said hands off. So now he's upset. So now he's going to go forth with great fury to utterly destroy and to make away many. But that's what he's supposed to be doing. He is the one that's going forth conquering and to conquer. He is the one that's going to take peace from the earth. Go ahead, continue reading.
And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain.
Go ahead.
Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him.
Where's the glorious holy mountain? That is Jerusalem. He's going to plant his tabernacles between the seas in the glorious holy mountain, and he's going to come to his end, and none shall help him. As Paul said to the Thessalonians, the Lord is going to destroy him with the brightness of his coming. So now, there ain't nobody can help him. Who's going to deliver him out of the hands of the Lord? Nobody. He's going to come to his end, and ain't none going to help him. This is the war. Let's get back to the rest of the seals here. Let's go back now to Revelation chapter 6. And we'll pick it up at verse 5. Revelation 6 and verse 5. 6 and we ain't even got to the trumpets yet. We on our way.
Sir.
And you looking at stuff that's got to happen before the Lord can come. And here you is talking about some any day now. And ain't none of this stuff happened yet. The man have not left Rome yet and set up in Jerusalem yet. There haven't even been the temple built in Jerusalem that he got to sit in, but you saying he may come any day. Deception is dangerous. Everybody warns you about it.
That's right, brother.
Everybody wants. But when they asked Jesus what would be the sign of his coming, you know the first thing he said? Take heed that no man deceive you. Then when Paul told you about this abomination of desolation, what did he say? Let no man deceive you. Everybody telling you not to be deceived. And the reason everybody's telling you because the Lord said that many false prophets would arise and would deceive men. Anybody that tell you that the Lord might come any day now, he is a false prophet and he's deceiving you. And not just if he tell you that. Almost if he tell you anything, almost. I mean, it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
You don't want me to stand up here and lie on the man, do you? If he ain't got almost nothing right, then he ain't got almost nothing right. He need to come and sit down at the house of Jacob or sit down at another church that's got the doctrine that the house of Jacob got and listen.
Sir.
Your ears, if you hear this stuff, people, your ears have been blessed. And if you see this, your eyes have been blessed. You ain't got no idea how blessed you are.
Sir.
To be able to hear and understand this. You have no idea how blessed you are.
Sir.
Better take advantage of it. Let's go back and finish dealing with the seals so we can get to the trumpets. We on our way to, we ain't got to the trumpets yet. Revelation 6 and pick it up at verse 5, 6 and 5. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see.
Go ahead.
And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand.
Now we are dealing with famine here. You know, all of these are conditions that's brought on by war. You know, because when you're dealing with famines, you're dealing with rationing out food. You know, you have lived in this country all of your life, and you have never had to deal with this. But sometimes when you turn on your TV and look at some of those countries where they're dealing with famines, you see them rationing out food. Come on, man. They got a big 100-pound bag of wheat or flour or whatever. You come by and you get you a scoop. Mm-hmm. That's it for you, buddy.
Sir.
You got to make this scoop last for you and your family for a while. You don't know nothing about that. You walk down there in your local supermarket and buy what you want and just eat till you're full and then throw the rest in the garbage. So you don't know nothing about no famine. But if a lot of time famine is created by war, and this famine is created by war here. You had the war that brought the famine, which means the rationing out of food. Go ahead, continue reading.
Verse 6.
Read it.
And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny.
Go ahead.
And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
So now you're rationing stuff out. Measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and don't hurt the wine and oil. And take it easy. Now, don't get too much. That's what it means, don't hurt it. Don't get too much of it. You done had your scoop. That's it. So now, that's it. So now you had another condition that was brought on, and that was the famine. Go ahead, continue reading.
And when he had opened the fourth seal,
now you done got to the fourth seal here. Go ahead and read.
I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see.
Go ahead.
And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him.
So now, what has happened here? He's gone forth conquering and to conquer. And he is conquered, and now he can implement his program now. He got a program. And now he can implement it. He can kill with famine. He can kill with the sword. He can kill with death. However he choose, because he's calling shots now. Go ahead and read.
And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword.
So I said power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword. Go ahead and read on.
And with hunger, and with death,
go ahead and read.
And with the beasts of the earth.
Now, going into the fifth seal here. Go ahead and read.
And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held.
In other words, that sounds like martyrdom to me.
Sir.
If you have been killed for the word of God, because there have been some that have been killed for the word of God, and there will be others that will be killed for the word of God. You might have to put your life on the line for the word of God. You might. Somebody got to fulfill it. Somebody going to have to put their life on the line for the word of God. Even in this generation that will be around at his coming, there will be a religious persecution. And you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that you might have to lay your life on the line for what you believe. You know what? When you ask to lay your life on the line for what you believe, you might not believe no more. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to say now, well, go ahead and kill me, man. I'm going to hold on to this word. A little different when you look over there and see your buddy with his head been cut off because he put his life on the line for the word. Then you're ready to scratch your head. Well, let me think about this for a while. But somebody got to fulfill it, people. All this stuff is going to happen before your God can come and set up that kingdom that you waiting on. This stuff got to happen. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony that they held. Go ahead and read.
Verse 10.
Read it.
And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?
Go ahead and read.
And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them,
now for the ones that laid their life on the line for the word of God, white robes was given unto everyone. What are these white robes? It is the righteousness of the saints. So now, if you wind up laying your life on the line for the word of God, then you in. You got it made. Hopefully it don't come to that. But if it does, then you got to lay your life on the line for the word of God. Because if you do, then it said white robes was given unto every one of them. Go ahead and read on.
That they should rest yet for a little season.
Go ahead.
Until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal.
Now the book was sealed with 7 seals, wasn't it? So now we've worked our way down to the sixth seal. And he said, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal. Go ahead and read on.
And lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
Now he said the sun became black, and the moon became as blood. This is a sign of the day of the Lord here. The abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, that was a sign of the beginning of the great tribulation. This is a sign of the day of the Lord, a day when the Lord is going to pour out his fierce wrath. Go ahead and read.
Verse 13.
Read it.
And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs,
Go ahead.
when she is shaken of a mighty wind.
Read it.
And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places.
Go ahead.
And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains.
Now, all of a sudden, them heavens rolled back like a scroll. And the people saw him that sitteth on the throne. And they headed for the hills, crying for the rocks to fall on them and hide them from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. All the mighty men, wait a minute. The mighty men, he said they took off.
The mighty men, yes, sir.
The mighty men, wait a minute, you bad now. What you running for, man?
Yes, sir.
But they gone now. And they, rather than deal with the wrath of the Lamb, they rather for the rocks to fall on them. Go ahead, read.
And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb.
Go ahead and read.
For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?
So now, the heavens rolled back, and they headed for the hills, and they cried for the rocks to fall on them, and hide them from the face of the one that sit on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath. This is Jesus. By the way, he is the Lamb, right? I thought he didn't have no wrath. I thought he just loved everybody.
Sure.
That's the lie you told me. You know, back when I used to go to one of them places.
Sure.
You can just do whatever you want to do. He ain't going to do nothing to you. That's why most people like sitting in them anyway. You ain't got to do nothing. You can do whatever. And he ain't going to do nothing to you. You better find out about the real Lamb of God. That Lamb you done heard about, he is the one that came out of Rome. The one that came out of this Bible, he will hurt you.
Right, brother. Yes, sir.
Why you think they ran for the rocks and said, hide us from the wrath of the Lamb? But a great day of his wrath is come, and who will be able to stand? Now, going into chapter 7. Do I want to go into chapter 7? No. Let's back up to Daniel chapter 7. We'll get back to Revelation chapter 7. But let's go to Daniel chapter 7 and pick it up at verse 7. Daniel 7 and began reading at verse 7. 7 and 7. Okay, go ahead and read.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast,
Go ahead.
dreadful and terrible.
Now these beasts, these are kingdoms. We ain't talking about no animals. We're talking about kingdoms here, and they're represented by beasts. And I want to deal with this last one here, because it is the one that will be around at the coming of the Lord. This is Rome that we're reading about here. And after this, I saw in night vision, and behold, a fourth beast. Go ahead and read on.
and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth.
Go ahead.
It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go ahead.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it,
Read.
and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn,
Go ahead.
before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Now this is the little horn. It is the religious government that is a part of the Roman Empire. There's a religious government that is a part of the Roman Empire. I don't need to say no more. You know who it is. But I just want to show you what it's going to do and what it has done in the past. Skip down now to verse 21. And we're going to pick it up here. Go ahead and read on.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints.
And notice what this horn did. He made war with the saints. This end time stuff that you're reading about here.
Sir.
This ain't something that happened way back. I'm going to read you something out of an encyclopedia that happened way back, just so you'll know who it is that you're dealing with. Go ahead, continue reading.
And prevailed against them.
Now he said he made war against the saints, and he prevailed against them. Go ahead and read on.
Until the Ancient of Days came.
And who is the Ancient of Days? That is the Lord here, and that is coming. And he did it until the Ancient of Days came. Go ahead and read on.
And judgment was given to the saints of the Most High.
Go ahead.
And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom.
Now, and that is what the saints are going to do. They are going to possess the kingdom. But after all this stuff is over with first, then the saints are going to possess the kingdom. Skip down to verse 25. Go ahead and read it.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Now he's going to speak great words against the Most High, and he's going to wear out the saints of the Most High. Go ahead and read on.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time.
Now that is a year. Go ahead and read.
And time.
Time, that is 2 years. That make 3 years. Go ahead and read.
And the dividing of time.
And that is a half a year, and that makes 3 1/2 years, or as we read over in Revelation, 40 and 2 months. That is how long that he's going to make war against the saints if you are not in that place of safety that he said that you must flee to.
Sure.
When you see this abomination of death. And he said, if you're on your housetop, don't even go back to get nothing. Just take off for that place of safety. Now, I just want to read you this out of the encyclopedia here. I want you to start reading right there. This is the Funk and Wagnall's Encyclopedia, volume 13. And we'll read from what page is that? 305.
305.
Go ahead and read.
The Inquisition.
The Inquisition. Go ahead.
System of tribunals formerly existed in the Roman Catholic Church.
Existing in what?
The Roman Catholic Church.
No.
Sir. Roman Catholic.
No. You read that right?
Yes, sir. System of tribunals.
And we didn't put this in here, by the way. Go ahead and read.
For the discovery, repression, and punishment of heresy.
You know, heresy to them was anything that is contrary to their doctrine. If they said Sunday is the Sabbath day, and you say, well, the Bible says Saturday, you know what they say? You're a heretic, man. You need to be taken out somewhere and punished. You didn't know that during this Inquisition, this time of this Inquisition, I started to bring that article too, that the Bible was banned reading. They banned it, you reading the Bible. Don't read no Bible. You want to know anything about God? Come ask us. They banned the reading of the Bible. Can you believe that?
Sir.
Read.
After Christianity became the established religion of the Roman Empire.
Now, that, by the way, that was the Roman brand of Christianity. It wasn't the Bible brand of Christianity that became the religion of the Roman Empire. It was the brand of Christianity that they came up with. Keep reading. What's in read? Go ahead and read.
Heresy was regarded as both a civil and religious crime, and heretics were punished by the secular courts.
Go ahead.
When found guilty of heresy and rebellious or obstinate in his belief, the heretic was yielded to the civil courts for punishment. After Vatican Council II, the name of the organization was changed to Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith.
I wrote some dates in there when that
1962 and 1963.
Oh, okay.
1965.
So it's still around, but they don't call it the Inquisition anymore. Now they call it the Doctrine of the Faith. And it is going to do what it did in the past. Because we just reading about religious persecution here. It's going to do the same thing that it did in the past. I just wanted to read you that. Now, let's go now to Revelations chapter 7. And we'll pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 7, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. 7 and 1. 7 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read. 7 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth.
Now, we were dealing with the sixth seal here. The book was sealed with 7 seals. So we got to deal with all of the seals before we get to the trumpets. So now he said, and after these things I saw four angels standing over the four corners of the earth. Go ahead and read on.
Holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
Now, these winds are not talking about winds that blow, like we think of wind, but it is talking about the nations of the four corners of the earth. That is what these four winds are, the nations of the four corners of the earth. And the angels was holding them back because before the Lord started to bring this destruction up on the earth, he first got to seal his servants in their foreheads. Go ahead and read on.
And I saw another angel ascending from the east,
Go ahead.
having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
So now it said, the four angels was holding back the four winds, which are the nations of the four corners of the earth, and said, don't hurt anything until we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. Go ahead and read.
And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there was sealed 144,000 and 4,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Now, we don't need to read them all. You know who the 12 tribes are. Skip down now to verse 9. Go ahead and read.
After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands.
Go ahead.
And cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb.
Go ahead.
And all the angels stood round about the throne, and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worship God.
Go ahead.
Saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they?
Now, John said, one of the elders said unto him, now who are these that are arrayed in these white robes, and where did they come from? And listen at the answer. Go ahead and read on.
And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest.
John said, sir, you know. I don't know, but you know us. So he going to tell him who these are. Go ahead and read.
And he said to me,
go ahead.
These are they which came out of great tribulation.
He said, now these are they that came out of great tribulation. Go ahead and read.
And have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
In other words, they got it all together. During the great tribulation, they had to be whipped into submission. But they got it together. But that's a hard way to come now, buddy. Why not just submit yourself now?
Yes, sir.
and save all of this. But they ask, who are these that are arrayed in white robes? Where did they come from? These are they that came out of great tribulation and that have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. They got it together, but boy, did they take a whooping. You know, I don't know. But now, let's go now. That was the sixth seal. All that was under the sixth seal, but the book was sealed with 7 seals. Go on into chapter 8 and pick it up at verse 1. 8 and 1. Go ahead, me.
And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour.
Go ahead.
And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets.
Now we finally get to the trumpets. But we done went through some stuff just to get to the trumpets.
Yes, sir.
Now we got to deal with the trumpets. So now, he said, when he opened the 7th seal, there were 7 angels which were given 7 trumpets. Go ahead and read.
And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne.
Go ahead and read.
And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with the fire on the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake.
Go ahead.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound.
Go ahead and read.
The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth.
And they were cast upon it. This stuff gonna happen, people. No, this ain't some stuff going on up in heaven somewhere. It said, and they were cast up on earth. When the Lord blow trumpet, it announces something. Lord just don't blow no trumpet, just like when the Lord showed up to make the covenant with Israel there in the wilderness. The trumpet sounded long and loud, and it scared the people to death. Scared them so bad, they said, Moses, you go talk to him. We don't want to hear this voice no more. And then during the days of Joshua, the Lord had the priests to blow the trumpets before he took down Jericho. When the Lord have trumpets blown, it announces something. Now, when this first trumpet blowed, look at what happened here. He said there was hail and fire mingled with smoke that was cast up on earth. Go ahead and read.
And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
Go ahead and read.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood.
So now, when the second trumpet sounded, then the Lord said it became fire, and a third part of the sea became as blood. Go ahead and read on.
And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed.
Go ahead and read.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood.
Go ahead.
And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
So we see as the trumpet just don't blow and that's it. The trumpet blow, it announces something. And when it blows, then something happens on this earth. Go ahead, continue to read. All this stuff is real, people. You read in Revelation. I don't know if it's real. And if you're around, and you ain't got to be around a whole nother long time either. And if you're around, you are going to see that it is real. Go ahead, continue to read.
And the fourth angel sounded.
And then the fourth angel sounded his trumpet. Go ahead, read.
And the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound.
So now 4 trumpets done sounded. And now he's saying there are 3 that are yet to sound. And he said, whoa, 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 which means grief and sorrow. As if the 4 wasn't bad enough. Now you got 3 that's really bad because the Lord said, whoa, whoa, whoa. That means grief and sorrow. If you think those first 4 was bad, look at these last 3 here. Now, what verse are we?
Entering into 9.
Okay. Go ahead and read. Let's pick up the 5th one, which is the first woe. Go ahead and read.
And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth.
Go ahead.
And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
Now the star that fell from heaven that had the key of the bottomless pit, that is Satan. Go ahead, continue read.
And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
So now it was commanded, don't hurt, don't bother the ones that have been sealed. You know, the Lord always seals his servants first.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? To make certain that this destruction don't come up on them. Now, and it was said, you know, don't hurt those that got the seal of God in their forehead. But then this was to come up on the rest, those that did not have the seal of the living God in their forehead. This is dealing with some kind of chemical weapon. You know, you hear a little bit about that in the news today, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You know, Syria has been accused of using them.
Sir.
And most nations probably have them. They signed some agreement around World War I or somewhere in there that they would never use them again. But you probably can't count the times that they have been used since, even as recent as a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
So now, it say, you know, don't, it ain't going to hurt the trees or the grass or any of that, only those that do not have the seal of God in their foreheads. Go ahead and read.
Verse 5.
Read it.
And to them it was given that they should not kill them.
See, it ain't going to kill them, but it's going to torment them to the point that they wish they were dead. Go ahead and read.
But that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
Go ahead and read.
And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it.
See what I'm saying? No, you being tormented to the point that you would rather die. But the Lord said they going to seek death, but share nothing. You ain't going nowhere. I'm punishing you. I ain't going to even let you die out of this punishment. You think you're going to die and get away from this whooping I'm going to put on you now? I'm going to keep you alive so I can whoop you. Go ahead and read.
And shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
I'm saying they going to seek death, will not, and they going to desire to die, and death going to flee from them. Go ahead and read on.
And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle.
Go ahead.
And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men.
Go ahead.
And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
Go ahead.
And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle.
Go ahead.
And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit.
That is that star that fell from heaven. He is the angel of the bottomless pit. Look at who he is. Go ahead and read.
Whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon.
Abaddon means destroyer. Go ahead and read on.
But in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
And Apollyon means destroyer. That is what Satan is. He is the destroyer. So now, this is the star that fell from heaven that had the key to the bottomless pit. Go ahead and read on.
One woe is past.
Now he said one woe is past. You know, this brought about some kind of chemical warfare or something. And it said it was going to torment men for 5 months to the point they was going to seek death and would not find it, desire to die, and death was going to feed for. One woe is past. You got 2 more coming. Go ahead, read on.
And behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
Go ahead and read.
And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns
now
of the...
we've gotten down to the 6th trumpet. There were only 7 trumpets. But before the Lord can come, all 7 trumpets must blow. So now we've gotten down to the 6th trumpet, and it said the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the altar. Go ahead and read on.
Which is before God.
Read.
Saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Now it said, now, the Lord done sealed his servants because he had the 4 angels holding back the 4 winds. And these 4 winds was talking about the nations at the 4 corners of the earth. Now that he's sealed his servants, now you can loose the 4 winds or loose the nations so that they can go to battle now. Go ahead, read on.
And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men.
Now, it ain't the angels that's going to be doing the slaying. It is the nations that will be at war that will be doing the slaying. We coming back here, but first, let's go to Revelation chapter 15, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 15, and we'll begin reading at verse 1. 15 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God.
Now you got the 7 angels that got the 7 last plagues, and in them is filled up the wrath of God. These 7 last plagues and the 7 trumpets, they are synonymous. In other words, a trumpet blow and a plague is poured out. So now, 7 angels having 7 last plagues that is filled up with the wrath of God. Skip down now. Let's go to Revelation 16 and pick it up at verse 1. 16 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth.
Now he said, go your way and pour out the vials of wrath of God. Notice where it said pour it out at? Up in heaven somewhere?
Upon
no,
the earth.
On this earth. All this stuff is earth, people. It ain't going to be pretty. It's only going to be pretty when the Lord show up. But before he show up, it ain't going to be nothing pretty. Men's hearts failing them, looking at the stuff that have come up on this earth. That's why you want to be in that place of safety. You don't want to deal with this if you don't have to. As the book said, pray that you be found worthy to escape these things. I'm going to say, pray that the Lord have mercy.
Yes, sir.
And allow you to escape these things. Because I don't really know if anybody's worthy, but what verse are we?
Verse 2.
Read it.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast,
Go ahead.
and upon them which worshipped his image.
See, they were not sealed with the servants of God in their forehead. They was sealed with the mark of the beast. And therefore, the Lord poured out his wrath upon them. If you're sealed with the mark of God in your forehead, then the wrath ain't going to come up on you. It's going to come up on those that are not sealed with the mark of God in their foreheads. Now, skip down to what we're going to deal here with the 6th one. We were dealing with the 6th trumpet. We are going to deal with the 6th vial of wrath. Because remember what was said under the 6th trumpet about the great river Euphrates. Skip down now to chapter 16 and pick it up at verse 12. Go ahead and read.
And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates.
Wait a minute. Now it said, you notice, under the 6th trumpet, you had the river Euphrates, didn't it?
Sir.
And now you got under the 6th vial of wrath, the great river Euphrates. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. Go ahead and read on.
And the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
And who are the kings of the east? That is Russia and all of her allies. So now it said that the river Euphrates was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be. This is our stuff.
Sir.
There's a river over there in the Middle East that runs down through Turkey. That's called the river Euphrates. It was mentioned back in the very beginning of your Bible. And that river is said to be the dividing line between the east and the west. So now it was dried up that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And who are the king of the east with this army of 200 million that's going to come down across that Euphrates River, and it said that when they come down through there, it's going to be like the Garden of Eden. Mm-hmm. But after they come through there, it's all going to be left is waste and destruction. When they come down through there, people, they're going to be tearing up. With 200 million, you can do a lot of damage.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
Verse 13.
Read it.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
So now you got this battle here, that all of the kings of the earth, all this stuff is leading up to it. Like you got a little scrimmage going on over there in the Middle East now. But if you pay attention, you got nations siding up, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You know, you got,
that's right.
Then they say, well, United States said, well, we ought to go over there and bomb Syria. You got Russia standing with the Syrians saying, no, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And you got Iran standing with them saying, don't do that. Then you got the United States on the other hand saying, we're going to bomb them. Then you got the Israelis saying, we with you. Everybody's saying, can you see how that this thing can escalate into a world war? That's how world war gets started. You know, everybody don't just, you know, you get 100 nations over there and another 100 over there and say, now let's go to war. No, you get a nation over there, they get in a fight with a nation over there. And then they buddies say, I'm standing with you. And they buddies say, I'm standing with you. Then another one of their buddies say, I'm standing with you. Another one of their buddies standing with you. And then all of a sudden, you got a world war, people. That's how it's done. Every world war that was ever started, it was started basically with between two nations. And we know one thing for certain, that is where the trouble going to really get started right there in the Middle East. Because the book said all nations going to gather at Jerusalem to battle. So they're in the right spot. It's going to be hot over there. It's been hot all my life. Every time they said they're going to make peace, before the ink dry on the peace treaty, they back at war again. And they're going to be at war until the Prince of Peace comes. That's who's going to bring peace. They can talk peace all they want to. Even the man of sin, he's going to destroy many by peace. And they really think that he can bring peace. Mm-hmm. You have rulers of governments that think that he can bring peace. But the book said by peace, he's going to destroy many. He is going to be the one that's really going to instigate a lot of the war. Then you just read, I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, the devil, out of the mouth of the beast, the secular ruler of the Roman Empire, out of the mouth of the false prophet, the religious ruler of the Roman Empire. But they are spirits of devils working miracles to gather all nations together to do battle. How are you going to make peace? He is one of the ones that's going to instigate the war. You read it out of your Bible.
Sure.
Because that's how it's going to be. This stuff is real, people. Now, what verse did we stop at?
Verse 15.
Read it.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed.
Now, when you see the nations gather to do battle, then the Lord said, I come as a thief. Because he's coming in the midst of the battle, and because if he didn't, there would be no flesh left alive. Jesus said that in the 24th chapter of Matthew. This is the 6th battle, and there wasn't but 7. And after the 7th battle, it's all over. And this is also the 6th trumpet. There wasn't but 7. And when the 7th one sounds, it's all over then. Go ahead, continue reading.
Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame.
Go ahead and read.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
That's what Armageddon. It is a place, a valley that is near Jerusalem, where all nations is going together to do battle. It is called Armageddon, Megadon, Megiddo, the valley of Jehoshaphat, where Jehovah will judge. So he's going to judge the nations right there in that valley. He's going to whoop every one of them right there in that valley. So the world will know who run it. Because when he show up, nations ain't going to be glad to see him. As the book said, the nations were angry that thy wrath is come. They were angry. They don't want to see him. Nobody, the only one really want to see him, the ones that's trying to walk in righteousness. If you ain't trying to walk in righteousness, when he show up and knock on that door, you don't that. They don't want to see him. Let's go back now to the 6th trumpet. Then we're going to get on into the 7th and last trumpet. Revelation 9, and we'll pick it up at verse 13 again. Now that we know that we are dealing with war here, we're dealing with nations gathering together to do battle. That's what we are doing. Now you can better understand this. 9 and 13. Go ahead and read.
And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Well, we just read about that under the 6th vial of wrath. And it said that the river thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Go ahead and read on.
And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the 3rd part of men.
Now, the angel's not the one that's going to do it. The angels was the one that was holding back the nation. And once they're told to loose the nations and let them go, then the nations are going to slay a 3rd part of men. Go ahead, continue read.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000.
That's 200 million people. Go ahead and read.
And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision.
Go ahead.
And them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. And out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
So you know you're dealing with war here, the equipment. That's what you're dealing with. You ain't dealing with no animals. You are dealing with war equipment here. John using something that he is familiar with, trying to describe what he is looking at. Because the Lord is showing John this stuff in a vision. John ain't never seen no plane. There was no such thing as a plane and a tank and all that other stuff back then. So John looking at something that he's familiar with, trying to describe what it is that he is looking at. You know, they got fire coming out of their mouth, fire coming out of their tail. They look like locusts to me. Go ahead, read on.
By these 3 was the 3rd part of men killed.
See what they said? By these 3 was the 3rd part of men killed. It wasn't the angels that killed them. By those weapons that they used was a 3rd part. The angels was just standing there holding the nations back. Because Because I'm going to tell you right now, if the Lord didn't have somebody, the angels holding the nations back, there wouldn't be nothing left. Because we are dealing with madmen. That's what run this earth, madmen.
Sir.
They'll destroy everything. Because this one's going to say, well, I got my nuclear weapon over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll drop it on you. Well, I got mine too. What you think I'm going to do while you dropping yours on me? Well, my buddy, he got here. Well, my buddy, he got some too. Nobody survives an all-out nuclear war, people. Nobody. That's why the Lord said there would be no flesh left alive. But you don't want to see God. You want to leave it to these madmen to run stuff. What verse are we?
Verse 18.
Go ahead and read.
By these three was the third part of men killed.
Go ahead.
By the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths.
Go ahead.
For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt.
Go ahead.
And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver, and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts.
After all that, you would think they would have repented, right?
Sir.
But they ain't what you just read out of your Bible. After all of that, they still did not repent of their murders and sorceries and all of that stuff. Going into chapter 10 now, that was the sixth trumpet. There was only 7 trumpets. Going into chapter 10, pick it up at verse 5. Go ahead and read.
And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer.
Read.
But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel.
But in the days of the voice of the seven angels giving 7 trumpets. You just looked at the 6. And you got the nations at war. All nations are gathered together to do battle. So that's what you were looking at under the 6th trumpet. Now you're looking at the 7th trumpet here. But he said, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel when he began to sound. Go ahead and read on.
The mystery of God should be finished.
Go ahead and read.
As he hath declared to his servants the prophets.
In other words, when that 7th angel sounds his 7th trumpet, then that's it. Skip down now to chapter 11 and pick it up at verse 15, and let's look at the 7th trumpet here. 11 and 15. Go ahead and read.
And the 7th angel sounded. And there were great voices in heaven saying,
Go ahead.
The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever.
You see what happened when the 7th angel sounded? The kingdoms of this world became the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever. The Lord, that's what all this blowing of the trumpets is about. It's to get you here. Amen. When the kingdoms of this world become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his. But when was that? That was on the 7th trumpet, right?
Sure.
So then the Lord can't come and take over the kingdoms of this world until you have the blowing of not a trumpet, but 7 trumpets. And then when that 7th one sound, the kingdoms of this world will become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever. That's good news, people.
Yes, sir. Amen.
That's what Jesus called the gospel. That's what gospel means, good news.
Good news, brother. Yes,
and what was the gospel that he came with? The gospel of the kingdom of God.
Yes, sir.
But you got to go through all of this to get there, including the blowing of 7 trumpets. Go ahead, continue reading.
And the 24 elders, which sat before God on their seats, fell upon their faces and worshiped God.
Go ahead.
Saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned.
Go ahead.
And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged.
Now, when the Lord returned, it said that the nation was angry, and that their wrath is come, and that the time of the dead that they should be judged. Until this come, the dead is in the grave. Okay? Everybody understand? You know, I know how holy your aunt was, but she in the grave. And if she was really holy, then she gonna rise at this time.
Yes, sir.
But if y'all thought she was holy, then she gonna stay asleep. But when the Lord returned at the seventh trumpet, it is the time of the dead that they should be judged, and the time that his servants will get their reward. Go ahead and read on.
And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets.
And then you will give reward unto your servants the prophets. Go ahead and read on.
And to the saints.
And to the saints. Read.
And them that fear thy name, small and great. And shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth.
And you going to give reward to thy servants, the prophets, the saints, them that fear your name, small and great, and you will destroy them that destroy the earth. Let's go to Revelation chapter 19. You ain't through yet. Revelations 19, and we'll pick it up at verse 11. 19 and 11, we're again looking at his coming. 19 and 11, read.
And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True.
Now, this is what I was saying there. This is Jesus that is coming. And it says him here that he's coming on a white horse. But then you had the apostle that had the white horse too, didn't he? And, you know, he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, this is the real deal here. And he's coming on a white horse, and he's going to do some conquering when he comes. Go ahead and read.
And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
Now, in righteousness, he's not going to just judge, but he's going to judge, and he's going to make war too. Go ahead and read.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns.
Go ahead and read.
And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God.
You know why his garment was dipped in blood? That's because where you just read, he's going to judge and make war, right? Well, you know you're making war, you're going to get some blood on your garments. Go ahead and read.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth the sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
Go ahead.
And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God.
So now he's coming to rule. The kingdoms of this world will become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he's going to reign forever. So now he shall rule them, as it says here, with a rod of iron. Lord ain't taking no foolishness.
Sir.
No fool. The foolishness is over. When he show up, he say he going to rule with a rod of iron. And the book talk about the saints that's going to rule with him. And he said they are going to rule with a rod of iron. The foolishness is over, people. You know, you had 6,000 years to do the dumb stuff. Now, you going to get in line or you going to get your head cracked instantly. That's what a wrought iron is, isn't it? You know, a wrought iron ain't now. Oh, brother. That ain't a wrought iron. A wrought iron, get in line, stay in line. You got beings that when you get ready to do something wrong, you got a being that's going to say to you, that's not the way. Walk there in. You look around, you don't see nobody. Well, I do it anyway. I just said that's not the way. Because the beings that's going to rule with the Lord, they're going to be just like the Lord. Lord said he's going to change their vile body that it might be fashioned like unto his glorious body, even according to the workings thereby. God is creating himself, people. You know, Bible talk about the Lord made man in his image, but he ain't not quite yet fully in the image of God, but he will be. Because the Lord going to make him just like he is. So now, he's coming, and he going to rule with a rod of iron, and he going to tread the winepress with the fierceness of the wrath of Almighty God. Go ahead and read.
And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of kings and Lord of lords.
That's what he's coming as, King of kings and Lord of lords. He done did the lamb thing. He did that one already. Then he did the baby in the manger thing. He did that one already. Now he's coming as King of kings and Lord of lords. Go ahead and read.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven,
Go ahead.
Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great.
And then when he do the world thing, he going to call for all the fowls of the air to come and eat up all of these dead bodies that will be laying around. He said, come, you know, that you may eat the flesh of kings and captains and them that sit on horses and all of that. Go ahead and read.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Go ahead.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Now these are two of his arch enemies here. He put them in the fire. And then if you read on, you will find out his other one, he bound him up for 1,000 years, and after that, he's going to put him in the fire. Let's go now to Joel chapter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Show you another thing that the Lord is going to do at the sound of the trumpet. Joel 3, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. That's what this trumpets is about. That's what this memorial of the trumpets is about, people. A memorial, that's to keep you in remembrance of something. And this is to remind you of when the Lord is going to return as King of kings and Lord of lords, but there must be the blowing of the 7 trumpets before he can do that. Let's go to Joel chapter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Here's the Lord coming, and he is making war with the nations. Joel 3, and pick it up at verse 1. 3 and 1. Okay, go ahead and read.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
So now the Lord said, in those days and at that time, I will bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Talking about when, Israel's in bondage. And he's talking about when he's going to return and gather them from that captivity. Go ahead, continue read.
And they have cast lots for my people.
Go ahead.
And have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink.
So now you got this battle that's going to be going on at the return of the Lord, when all nations is going to gather to do battle, but at that same time, the Lord is going to gather Israel. Skip down to verse 9, continue read.
Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
Go ahead.
Prepare war.
Uh-huh.
Wake up the mighty men.
Go ahead.
Let all the men of war draw near.
Uh-huh.
Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears.
Uh-huh.
Let the weak say, I am strong.
And that is what the nations are doing. They're arming themselves. Everywhere you look, the nations are arming. That's all they talk about. They don't talk about feeding nobody. They talk about arming themselves. Why? They're getting ready for this battle. Go ahead, continue.
Assemble yourselves and come,
Read.
all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about.
Uh-huh.
Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord.
Now, I want you to just skip down to verse 16, because we done read about the battle. We know the battle is going to take place. Skip down to verse 16 now. Go ahead and read.
The Lord also shall roar out of Zion,
Uh-huh.
and utter his voice from Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And the heavens and the earth shall shake.
Uh-huh.
But the Lord will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel.
Now, at this time, when the Lord returned, when the battle is in progress, it said at that time the Lord going to roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem. The heavens and the earth going to shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. Go ahead, continue reading.
So shall ye know that I am the Lord
And
your
the Lord
God.
says, so shall you know that at that time I am the Lord dwelling in Zion. Go ahead and read.
My holy mountain.
My holy mountain. Go ahead and read.
Then shall Jerusalem be holy.
And then will Jerusalem be holy. Jerusalem ain't holy now. But when the Lord return, then Jerusalem will be holy. Go ahead, read.
And there shall no strangers pass through her any more.
So now, when the Lord return at the battle, at the sound of the seventh and last trumpet, he talks about then he's going to gather his people, Israel. Let's go first to Matthew chapter 24. And we'll pick it up at verse 29. 24 and 29. You ain't got long, people. You got two more after this. 24 and 29. Okay? Go ahead and read.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
Now it says immediately after the tribulation of those days, what's going to happen? Go ahead and read.
Shall the sun be darkened.
Go ahead.
And the moon shall not give her light.
Sun going to be dark, moon not going to give her light. Read.
And the stars shall fall from heaven.
Uh-huh.
And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
And then the Son of Man, there will be a sign of him in heaven. Then the Son of Man will come. Go ahead and read.
And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
Uh-huh.
And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven.
Go ahead.
With power and great glory.
Read.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
And then he's going to send his angels, it said, with the great sound of a trumpet. Go ahead and read.
And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
And then it said he's going to gather, at the great sound of the trumpet, he's going to gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven, even unto the other. You finished that verse, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's go to Isaiah chapter 27, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Isaiah 27, and we'll pick it up at verse 12. Then at the coming of the Lord, there will be the great sound of the trumpet, and the Lord will gather together his elect from one end of the heaven, even unto the other. At the great sound of the trumpet, the Lord is going to do that. Israel, the Lord's elect. I know it's not just Israel, but Israel, the Lord's elect, they have been scattered from one end of the heaven even unto the other. But when the Lord returned, at the great sound of the trumpet, he's going to gather together his elect. Isaiah 27 and 12. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in that day
Go ahead.
that the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt.
Go ahead.
And ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel.
See what it said? It's going to come to pass in that day. Lord going to beat off the channel of the river. And you will be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. Go ahead and read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown.
Well, what trumpet going to be blown?
Great trumpet.
That the great trumpet will be blown. Go ahead and read.
And they shall come, which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria.
Now, and they shall come that was ready to, Israel is ready to perish, people. Wherever you find them at, they are ready to perish. Make no mistake, I look at them. They are ready to perish. But Israel, you got a hope. And your hope is in your God. And when that great trumpet sound, the Lord gonna gather together his elect from one end of heaven even unto the other. Finish that verse.
And the outcasts in the land of Egypt.
Go ahead.
And shall worship the Lord in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
And you're going to worship the Lord in the holy mountain at Jerusalem, because that is where the Lord going to set up at Jerusalem. One other place, and that'll be, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And we're going to pick it up at verse 21. 1 Corinthians 15, and we'll begin reading at verse 21. 15 and 21. Okay, go ahead and read.
For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead.
You know, we read earlier over in Revelation, when the Lord returned at his return, that there's going to be the resurrection of the dead. Well, we're going to read it again here in this Corinthians. Go ahead, continue read.
For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive.
When? Go ahead.
But every man in his own order. Christ the firstfruits.
Go ahead.
Afterward they that are Christ at his coming.
He said Christ was the firstfruits. Afterwards, those that belong to him at his coming. When the Lord returned, those that belong to him will be raised from the dead. And if you're still alive when he returned, you're going to be changed from a mortal being to an immortal being. Skip down now to verse 42. Go ahead and read.
So also is the resurrection of the dead.
Go ahead.
It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption.
Go ahead.
It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory.
Read.
It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power.
Go ahead.
It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body.
Read.
And so it is written. The first man, Adam, was made a living soul.
Go ahead.
The last Adam was made a quickening spirit.
Read it.
Howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual.
Go ahead.
The first man is of the earth, earthy.
Go ahead.
The second man is the Lord from heaven.
Read.
As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
You know, when you were born of your earthly parents, you became what they were. You know, man was made out of the dust of the ground. And when you were born of your earthly parents, you became what they are, flesh and blood.
Sir.
And when you become born of God, you will become what he is, and that is a spirit being, a spiritual body. This is going to happen, people, at the sound of the last trumpet. Go ahead and read.
And as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
Well, you bear the image of the earthly, now that's what you are, flesh and blood. You know, Jesus even became flesh and blood for the purpose of death. He went in the ground a corruptible being, and he came out an incorruptible being. Man go in the ground a corruptible being, and he comes out an incorruptible being. At what time? Go ahead and read.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God.
Go ahead.
Neither does corruption inherit incorruption.
Read.
Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
In other words, he's talking about the righteous here. Not all of the righteous going to die, but they all going to be changed. At what time? Go ahead and read.
In a moment.
In a moment. What's going to happen?
In the twinkling of an eye.
In the twinkling of an eye. Go ahead.
At the last trumpet.
At the last trumpet. Yeah. What is the last trumpet? That's number 7, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen? The dead will be raised incorruptible. That is when you are going to get your immortality, people, at the sound of the last trumpet. You know, you talk about getting eternal life. Well, you can't get it until the last trumpet sound, And God changed this mortal body to an immortal body. Go ahead and read.
For the trumpet shall sound.
The trumpet gonna sound. Which one gonna sound? What time are we reading about here? The coming of the Lord. Well, when did he come? Did he come at the sound of the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? When did he come? 7. Well, that's the last. What was 7, was it? 7. That's the last one, isn't it? At the sound of the last trumpet, the trumpet gonna sound. Go ahead and read.
And the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
Go ahead.
And we shall be changed.
The dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be. If you're alive and walking in righteousness, you will be changed. If you die, you're gonna be raised with an immortal body. Go ahead and read.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption.
Go ahead.
And this mortal must put on immortality.
This corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. At what time? At the sound of the last trumpet, people. These trumpets are going to sound. And when that last one sounds, that one will announce the coming of the Lord. But all of them going to announce something. That's why you have this memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, so you will understand what is to happen at the sound of these trumpets. You cannot be misled when you understand about these high days. And this one is about the coming of the Lord. And when he comes, this mortal will put on immortality. Thank you. And I hope you learn something.